Barriers to change. It's really important that you start to recognize this. There's a science to coaching. If you've got someone who's got some certifications and some experience and some recommendations behind them, I ask you to check up on the people that you are considering hiring as your executive coach to make sure that you are a good fit. And you should know within 15 minutes. And if it's not a good fit, there are plenty of other coaches out there. I always tell people, I'm not your first life coach, am I? And they usually smile and they go, no, but you were referred to me, or you were recommended to me, or I liked your social media content. Thank you very much. So, the science of change, barriers to change. A lot of this is based upon the teachings of Jonah Berger. He wrote a fantastic book, which I recommend, called The Catalyst. And he's broken them down into 5 different sections, which become a word, reduce. So let's go through them one at a time. And then I'm going to tell you exactly how we coach through that and get you to success syndrome, which is what everybody wants, and why New Year's resolutions don't work. Here we go. Reactance. Reactance is the big one for most people. If you tell someone they have to change, the first thing they're going to do is push back. Nobody likes change for the sake of change. You need to go through certain different things that we're going to talk about in a minute or two to get to the point where you have enough motivation, which is the first part of my Triple M system, to actually start the change process. So basically, people have to want to change themselves. The second part, endowment. People are attached to the status quo, even if it sucks. If you know that your girlfriend gets upset every time you play video games, but you play video games anyway, you know the fight you're going to have. And you might know the resolutions you're going to have afterwards. And for some strange reason, we are more comfortable doing it that way than talking to our partner and saying, hey, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'd like to play video games maybe for an hour from 8 to 9. Is that all right with you? And they're going to say yes, because it's scheduled. Maybe your partner wanted to go out to dinner at 8. Maybe on a specific day where you're just sitting down and play video games without asking permission. You're part of a partnership now. You should have calendars that you respect for each other. And if there are things that upset you with each other, you should have conversations about that. I call them weekly checkups. You had weekly planning sessions before you moved in together or before you got married, and you should have that weekly checkup after you move in together as well. So here's how we get past endowment. Inaction is costly. What happens if we have that same fight with our partner every week, every month, for a period of time? Eventually, resentment will grow. And once resentment grows, it grows like a weed, it grows like a cancer. And it's harder to turn back from that point. So if you recognize that things are a little bit more challenging on that same fight that you thought you could resolve with flowers, candy, a kiss a month ago, maybe that is what it's going to take you to realize that inaction is costly. Distance. This is a huge one. If you are, say, a staunch supporter of one political party or another, you will not accept the other party's positions at this day and age in 2022. You will just automatically discount whatever news, you can call it whatever you want, or information or propaganda that the other side is putting out to emphasize their points. For example, I was speaking to someone recently about global warming, but I didn't call it climate change. I didn't call it global warming. I called it dry rivers and forest fires. Nobody likes dry rivers and forest fires. We can all agree upon that. That's not going to be healthy for our kids. Why don't we agree to talk about that instead of calling it global warming, which is a trigger word depending on your political affiliation. So if we start talking about that, what we've done is we've reduced the distance, and people will consider the change because you've given them less of a distance to go to. You don't have to believe in global warming to believe in clean water. Sounds simple. So think of something in your life that is difficult to change. Perhaps your mate leaves his or her towels on the floor in the bathroom every single time. Why not put a towel rack where he's dropping the towels, one of those standing ones, and see if the towels just maybe start getting on the towel rack. You've reduced the distance. You've eliminated a fight. That's a win-win in my book. Eventually, maybe they'll start doing some laundry. You never know. Uncertainty. Nobody changes, almost nobody, because they're worried about what's on the other side. I call this what if syndrome. What if this happens? What if that happens? What aboutism? And that's why I tell people, if someone throws up an argument which doesn't make a lot of sense when you're asking them to change, actually acknowledge it and say, you know, that's a very interesting point and I haven't considered that. Why do you think that that this change is going to affect that? And maybe they'll come back and say, well, when my brother, had this conversation with his partner, then all of a sudden there was less physical relations. Well, in the back of your mind, whether it's conscious or subconscious, that creates a lot of uncertainty. So in order to get past uncertainties, you acknowledge them, you assure people that that is not going to happen and you're going to be sensitive to that need, right? It's an important need. Every couple needs that physical relationship because that solves a lot of problems along the way and continues to solve problems along the way until that physical relationship is the problem. So you don't want to get there. So what software has done for years and years, they do something called a freemium model. For example, Google will give you a gig of space for your emails, or Amazon will give you 5 gigs of space for your photos and videos. Now, that's all included in, your Gmail or your Amazon account. If you go past 5 gigs, you've already tried the product. You love the emails. You love having all your photos as backed up for free. So if you go above 5 gigs, you're not opposed to paying something for the additional 95 gigs that they want to sell you for $10.99 a month or whatever the cost is. That's called a freemium model. You give someone a taste. I give someone a free report of my coaching system, because if I give them a free report and they get a win, if they get some success from that, if they follow me on social media, they are more likely to pay me to be a member of my group or to be in one of my yearly coaching programs. And there'll be a link for that in the comments section. You do not have to join to get my free coaching online. Everybody knows that. The 5th part of the Jonah Berger system is called Corroborating Evidence. And these are proofs, they're testimonials. Susie went through my coaching program and she got a better job. John went through my couples course and had a better relationship going forward with his wife and his kids. That's corroborating evidence. The more corroborating evidence you can give to someone in a compressed period of time, instead of one person telling you over and over, if your partner's telling you, this is going to be great, this is going to be great, this is going to be great, 3 different ways, it does not mean as much to you as if 3 different people that you know tell you that it is great, and it was great for me, and it was great for my sister. That is corroborating evidence. Now, altogether, they spell reduce, and we have gone through your 5 barriers to change. We've reduced them. Some people have one of these barriers. They're big on reactance. They push back immediately when you ask them to change. But everyone has a little bit of all 5. If you have all 5, you definitely need a success coach in your life. Happy to help. So let's talk about New Year's resolutions for just a minute or two. New Year's resolutions don't work because you haven't gotten to your root cause and you don't have a plan. So we've made October Resolutions Month here at Success Syndrome Catalyst Coaching. And we go through why these 5 reasons of why you haven't changed yet, because you probably know that you do need to change something. Maybe you haven't identified exactly which variable it is, and that's where a coach comes in handy, because if I ask you, what is the problem? And you're going, it's my boyfriend, he's a Neanderthal. Okay, but it's really the towels on the floor. So the follow-up question there is, and what else? He goes out of his way to piss me off. Really? He's probably not doing that on purpose unless there's something on the other side that's positive for him. So think about that. If he's having these little fights so you can make up immediately afterwards, that's part of the problem. So you might want to schedule some of your makeup time outside of fight time. Makeup time after fights works until it doesn't. Make sure that you have other ways that you can communicate. Fantastic. So we get to the root cause, and then we have a plan. It's always a 3-step plan. There's going to be a simple place where we start, and then there's a place where we check in, we evaluate what we've done this day, this week, this month, and then there's a correction to the plan, because no plan is perfect from the get-go. There is, again, remember we talked about uncertainty for a few minutes before. There is uncertainty built into anything that we do in life. So if we have a great plan, but we're able to evaluate it, acknowledge what we've done right, and tweak what didn't work just perfectly, then we have what is known as a workable plan, and you are in motion. So if circling back, the first thing we needed was motivation. Now we are in motion. We get a couple weeks into the plan, we've made our corrections, we have momentum. Once we have momentum, nothing can stop us, and we can change behaviors between 14 days and 90 days, according to the experts. If you can change them in 14 days, you can habit stack them and change 26 behaviors this year and be a completely new person this time next year. Think about that. So, fantastic. Those are our 3 major components. We have to identify what is wrong. We have to know why we're not accepting the ability to change in a forward position. And then we actually need to implement. I'm Coach Ron, Success Syndrome Catalyst Coaching. We help people succeed above and beyond where they're at and where they think they can go. Have a great day, everybody. Nice to see you.